Is the future of money a cashless society? But to answer that, I want to talk about the history of ICE. And some of you will say, well, what is the connection between a cashless society and ICE? And I think there is a correlation, an interesting correlation, because about 150 years ago, ICE was transported in large blocks from frozen lakes to cities. And in the cities, they will cut it in smaller pieces and distribute it to homes. And people will put it in what's called ice boxes. Then they will use that ice for their refrigeration and cuisine. And that's how for many, many years people lived. And there was also an ice trade of moving exactly those same large block of ice actually across the world, believe it or not. And then 95 years ago, someone invented the CFC. And the CFC was a chemical that allows you to freeze water when you need it. So you push a button and you get ice. And everything changed. Everything changed. So think about it. Think about the cost and the time that it took to transport ice to the moment of use versus you push a button and you get ice. And of course, that invention of the CFC changed everything from the modern cuisine to air conditioning and everything else, right? So it changed our life again. These inventions that change life and drive economic growth and productivity. And the question is, are we going to see a CFC for money? Today, the central banks issue physical money, paper money, and that money has to be carried to the banks, and then the banks will take it to ATM machines, and I'm just simplifying the analogy. And then, of course, that cash will find its way to people's pockets. Who are these people? Well, those who are part of the informal economy mostly, right? Because they're going to get paid with that cash. Doesn't mean they go to the ATM machine, but somebody pays them, and so they get that cash, and now that's the only way they can live. And that cash is going to find its way back to what? To stores that you run and businesses, and you're going to ask us to come get it back and move it back to accounts, and the story goes on, and sometimes it even goes back to the central bank. So guess what? That cash moves, again, like ice. When we moved it in blocks, very, very slow, very, very expensive, and very, very inefficient. And yet we're talking about a digital economy that's growing faster than the traditional economy. So yes, that's the connection. We need to think about what is the potential CFC for money so that when you need to use money, you get it in the moment of the demand. And so you could have a promise or you could have a ledger that says you have this amount of money, but that money does not manifest itself until you're ready to pay. There is no movement of it. There is just creation of it in the moment of use. That will be the equivalent of pushing a button and getting ice for payment.